Wine and cookies are two of my favorite things in life, but usually I keep them separate until now. Two very entrepreneurial women, mothers who met at their children's playgroup, started a company about 2 years ago called Cookies and Corks, where they do the pairings of the two. And they're here today to talk to me about it. Welcome, Laura Englander and Leah Kuo.
Hi. Hi, Natalie. How are you?
Great, thanks. I'm hungry and thirsty and intrigued about this concept, this unusual pairing. I think of wine and cheese, steak and Cabernet, but cookies and wine. So tell me more about how you came up with the idea.
Well, first of all, you were right. Laura and I are best friends, and we did meet as moms at a play group, and really that's where it all started. I had a background in pastry arts, but I never utilized any of my techniques, and loved to cook, loved to host parties, and people always told me, you need to start a cookie company. I had no courage to do it. I mean, it's one thing to go in the kitchen and bake. It's a completely other thing to take it into the retail world and sell it. And Laura and I, over the course of probably a year and a half or so after having all the conversations about children and diapering and all that good stuff, actually figured out that we needed to learn some things about ourselves and each other. And Laura just casually one day mentioned that she had always wanted to start a company but didn't have a product. And the whole background that she would bring to the table was this really extensive career in sales and marketing. Granted, it's medical sales advice. It's just like the opposite of cookies. Not quite as fun, but it just seemed like a natural, easy match. And when we made that decision to do it, we were literally, Natalie, we were walking in the parking lot of Barnes & Noble pushing our strollers. And at this point, I had a second child, Laura had an infant, and we looked at each other and we were like, do you want to start a company? We're like, yes. And we went back home. I started to file the LLC paperwork. We hadn't informed our husbands yet, of course, what we were planning on doing. And they were the ones that were going to be bankrolling the whole thing. But it just worked. And the thing that we learned, just in a nutshell, is that while you can have great cookies and you can also have a great salesperson, you need to have some sort of differentiating quality about your product to really make it stand out. And
Absolutely.
You would agree, and this is where Laura had one of her sales and marketing light bulb moments when she was making a delivery of the cookies.
And we had a little local wine and gourmet wine and food shop here in Falls Church, Virginia. And I was making a delivery there one day, and they were doing a wine tasting later in the day. It just kind of hit me as I walked in with our cookies in a bag to sell. I said, we should really do a food or a cookie and wine pairing with our cookies. And I approached the owner, and he thought I was nuts. He said, well, we don't want to have kids in the store. This is a wine store. And I said, well, it's not that kind of cookie. So I went back to Leah with the idea. She loved it. And we had some evolution to our product, we made the cookies smaller, we added savory cookies, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. And that's sort of where Cookies and Corks was born.
Right, and what have been the biggest challenges in establishing the company from a business perspective or just getting the idea accepted? What's been the biggest things you've had to overcome?
I think, finances, for one. The amount that we thought it would take to start a company, which was a bake-to-order cookie company at the time, is a lot different than having a product that you sell all over the country, and even in the U.S. and Canada now, and we have a 6-month shelf life, so finances for sure.
You need a lot of dough, right?
A lot of dough.
Sorry.
Literally.
I'm sorry.
That's right. There's so many jokes. There's so many jokes you can make. But yeah, really honestly, it was understanding that in order to make a successful product that retailers would want to have on their shelves, there's a lot of upfront capital. And the two biggest areas of spending that we probably sank the most money into was packaging and our food scientists. Because when you go and you make a batch of cookies at home and you have the ingredients, you're probably dealing with fresh eggs, fresh butter, fresh cheese in some instances, because we do have 2 savory cheese cookies, and I was at one point grating Parmesan cheese for one of the cookies. But what happens is after about a week or so, the cookies start to mold or they turn stale. And when you have Whole Foods saying we need a minimum of 6 months for these cookies to get on our shelf, and we can't have artificial preservatives, flavorings, colors, and not that I would even know, what do you do? How do you buy an artificial preservative, and what do you know about adding it in? And it became something that we had to outsource. So we met up with this fabulous outfit just outside of Chicago, and they literally worked with us in conjunction with Amy Riley, who helped with some of the flavor profiles to make them pair better with wine, to essentially reformulate all 9 different cookie flavors to make them shelf stable, to make the textures better, and so that nobody's going to, taste a cookie that's been in the box for 5 months and say, this cookie tastes old. We want the flavor of the cookie at 5 months to be as good as if they ate it when it was freshly made, So that's one of the biggest challenges, and that's something that we're continually evolving.
And I was impressed, all of the different certifications you have. Like, so you've got this challenge of having a fresh, tasty cookie that tastes fresh, but you're using good ingredients. Your Weight Watchers approved for your cookies?
Yeah, we actually were very fortunate. One of the things too, one of the challenges in getting sort of your name out there when you have a product like cookies that pair with wine is working with PR and press and that sort of thing, which is what we did. And we worked with a great PR firm that helped us kind of get the word out there to people. And we got a lot of very respectable reviews of our product, and we would ship them to different people. Wine Spectator, for instance, did a little write-up on our cookies. Several in the wine industry, which was one thing for us to say, hey, these cookies aren't your typical really sweet cookies. We actually, they are sweet, but we lower the sugar, so they pair better with wine. Okay. And since we lower the sugar in our cookies, Weight Watchers was interested in the fact that they're less in the calorie department. So they wrote us in one of their gift guides for the 2011 holiday season as a great entertainment product.
So 2 cookies, 2 points, that sort of deal, and that really resonates a lot with people who are also simultaneously trying to eat healthier. So instead of having artificial sweeteners in the cookies, to watch with the calories, it's saying have a cookie. It has sugar. Yes, it has butter, but there's not that much in that cookie because we're really trying to work on emphasizing the flavors of the cookies.
Right.
So if you want you to have a lemon cookie, we want you to taste lemon. We don't want you to taste sugar and butter. So, that's the primary ingredient. So you of course want them to taste great.
Absolutely. So. And that kind of leads into the point about how cookies can even pair with wine. So you're talking about the savory ingredients and the lead ingredients. Why don't we just jump into one of these now? Do you usually go, I know you have 3 sets, 3 different boxes. This one's for sparkling wine. You've got white wine, cookies, and red wine. Do you usually do a tasting that way? Do you start with your sparkling, or do you pick another one to start with?
It varies. Right now we actually have 9 different flavors of cookies. So to lay out 9 different cookies is very daunting. We would never do a tasting that way. So we pick our our favorite cookies or the top cookies, and those that pair the best are a couple that we wanted to have you taste today. But we do, as in wine, we do try to taste the cookies that have a sort of a less upfront, overpowering flavor first, and then you work your way down to like a white cheddar rosemary or Parmesan thyme at the end. So you're not left, with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So from the most subtle to the boldest flavors, as you would do a wine tasting. Yeah, right. Terrific. Okay, so should we start with the sparkling wine then?
Sure, yes. We have a cava.
Okay. I had some leftover champagne, believe it or not. I don't know how this survived last night, but I thought I would just try a dry champagne, go shabby chic. But you've got a dry cava, a sparkling from Spain.
Yeah.
Let's see now. I don't know who missed this bottle in the fridge, but anyway, there it was.
Well, we don't know what leftover wine means, Natalie. It's not part of our vocabulary.
I know. I gotta try harder. Now, do you recommend tasting the cookie first, then the wine, then the cookie, or how do you do it, or do you not even?
It's kind of funny how you ask that, because there's really, people always ask, is there a rule to when you're tasting cookies and wine? And we said there's only one rule, that you always want to taste the wine first.
Oh.
So you understand and appreciate the flavors that are in the wine, then have a nibble of cookie, and then when you still have a little bit of that cookie left in your mouth, take another sip of wine so that the flavors really mingle. You're breaking the rule of etiquette, which is you normally don't chew and drink at the same time, but in this instance, this is really what we want you to do. Because otherwise, it's an intensity that the pairing's going to do when you have them both together in your mouth. So.
Right. And I agree. You got to taste the wine on its own first, just to see what the effect is of the cookie.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the first cookie we're going to start with is our zesty lemon cookie.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so
delicious.
That's probably loud. Now tell me why this works.
So you had, I think you took a bite of the sea salt chocolate oatmeal cookie. Yeah, that's
sea salt chocolate oatmeal.
Do you have one of the zesty lemon cookies?
I probably do.
Cookies.
These are great cookies, by the way. That's excellent. I gotta say. Wow.
Well, they have to taste good first and foremost, right? We don't want it to be where you have to have a bottle of wine.
Are these the lemon?
Those are the lemon, yes.
Okay. Alrighty. Here we go. I will get into these. But yeah, no, that tasted nice and crisp and fresh, but you're right, it was savory, and that's probably what's doing it. Okay, so back to the wine again.
But yeah, wine.
The research, it never ends. Tell me why these two work together especially well.
Well, I think you'll see when you take a bite of the lemon cookie and you take another sip of your cava, or your, I couldn't remember which one you're
some sort of champagne.
A dry sparkling wine.
We don't want to spoil the surprise for you yet.
Oh gosh, that works. That really works. This was pure lemon brightness. Beautiful. But this just went inside the wine and lifted the sparkling champagne even more. It, really, really good.
A lot of times it's almost like a lemon explosion.
Yeah.
A really big citrus pop is what we really receive when we get feedback from people that are tasting for the first time. They're like, wow, it amplifies the lemon so much, but it doesn't make it bitter.
No, it doesn't. That was the thing I was waiting for, because I thought there's sweetness in this. And the old rule is make your dessert or make your wine always sweeter than your dessert. But this just was a starburst of lemon when it combined with the champagne.
And it's fun, you know, Amy Riley, whom we've mentioned a little bit, she does all of our wine pairings for us. Although Leah and I now have had the arduous task of, you know, pairing several wines with our cookies, so we're getting pretty good at it now too. But Amy used to, she's been a consultant and a wine writer, and she at one point either consulted for or worked for Perrier Jouet. And one of the things that sold her on working with us as a consultant was our lemon cookie with Perrier Jouet Grand Brut. And she said it was one of the first things that she tried that actually made that wine taste even better. So that lemon cookie did. So that's kind of what sold her. And she also likes the idea that with the cookies, you're not putting any additives on there. Like if you have a rack of lamb, you can't say, hey, try a rack of lamb with, you know, this Pinot Noir, because people might, you know, season it differently or add extra salt or something. But these cookies are just how they are. So there's
nobody's doctoring it up.
No one's doctoring them up.
Right. And I like the concept of being able to have a little bit of dessert at the end of the meal, or even at the beginning, and not have to get a sweet wine, because a lot of people just aren't fans of sweet wine, whether it's port or, you know, Sauterne or whatever. If you could have just a dry wine, a refreshing champagne, and still have something a little savory sweet like this, I think that's perfect.
Well, you know, it's ironic that you mentioned the word dessert there, because a lot of times, with the sparkling box, for instance, that you're holding up, the one that has the zesty lemon, the sea salt chocolate, you know, time, that one. Well, the whole idea behind having 3 cookies originally was that people could sample the cookies throughout the meal. You could have the Parmesan thyme cookie at the beginning of the meal. Serve it as an appetizer on the plate with cheese and charcuterie. Have it with your soup or your salad as an alternative to a crouton, for instance. And then people are drinking Pinot Noir, people are drinking a Sauvignon Blanc, it doesn't really matter, whatever dry wine you enjoy with your regular meal. What you do with the sea salt chocolate oatmeal and the zesty lemon cookies at the end is you take them and you literally, I mean, you don't even, I mean, they're not huge. You can see these cookies are not huge. This is my palm and this is the size of the cookie. But we recommend when you have people over, you can even take them and break them into quarters or halves. And so one box is enough for really 8 people when you're serving it that way. And then what you do is it's a dessert appetizer. So while you're saying you don't have to bring out the port, well, you also don't have to bring out a really heavy dessert either. People can have these while they're drinking their leftover wine, and it's a great conversation starter. I mean, people just really get fired up about the flavors that they love and the combinations that they're enjoying.
It's like the best of childhood and adult life brought together.
What do people say about like grown-up milk and cookies?
Grown-up milk and cookies. Yeah.
Exactly. Enough with the play groups.
Right, right.
What would you, the one that I started with, is that meant for a different type of sparkling wine, or is it just another choice to mix and mingle with different?
It's just another choice, and this is, this is really the fun part. We have on our website, and I don't know if Natalie, if you would receive one of these. This is our sort of our wine and cookie pairing wheel, and I know you're not going to be able to see it from here, but we list several wine varietals down the middle, and then we have all 9 of our cookies listed on the outside. And where there's sort of a match between a cookie and a wine varietal, we have a little dash, like a little star. So if you're having people over, and you want to open up maybe a bottle of Pinot Noir, then you can see which cookies pair well with the Pinot Noir. And for instance, the lemon cookie that you just had with that sparkling wine, delicious with Pinot Noir. Also works well with the Sauvignon Blanc, as you would imagine. But I love the lemon cookie a lot of times with the Pinot Noir or a Merlot. There are so many different, even one of my favorite times of year is when you're going to try it with your Pinot. She's doing good.
Good job.
I've got a Pinot here.
Great.
Because I was finding it hard to believe lemon and Pinot. Pinot I associate with cherry, earth, all that kind of stuff.
Which is where the sea salt chocolate oatmeal is going to work with that, definitely. And this is where, as you well know, so many different wine varietals, have a whole lot of different things. I mean, you can have a more earthy Pinot Noir, and you can have a more fruit-forward one, which is where a lot of times our apricot sage cookie would work well with a more fruit-forward Pinot Noir. The lemon works with a lot of the Pinot Noirs also. So it's trial and error. I mean, we sort of give you a little roadmap, and you go for it and figure out which ones actually do work well.
This is fun. This is great. I just tried the lemon with the Pinot Noir, and what it brought out was the vibrant acidity. It didn't make the wine harsh, but it lifted it. It took it sort of from cherry and branching into maybe either a tartar cherry or a cranberry, but a brighter kind of fruit.
And the word that you just used, the adjective tart, is something that Amy also really stresses when it comes to doing the lemon cookie with some of these other red wines. It's the complementary flavors of the tart, sort of bright flavor that you get from a lemon, what you would expect to have, and then a lot of times the tartness that can sometimes be, played up as you just had in the Pinot Noir. So it's fun. I mean, it's really fun for people to see that because they don't think of lemon, like you said, as a complementary type of flavor to a red wine.
No, that's really terrific. I love these new experiments. We're going to continue our conversation very shortly because I really want to get more into that Pinot Noir and some white wine pairings. But thank you so much for this part of our chat.
Awesome.